Welcome to the White Donkey's CommentCast.
All right, everybody. So today we are tackling social media because, wow, did you guys send in a ton of articles on this? Like everything from how it's changing, global culture to what happens when these platforms go dark. We've got it all. And I'm guessing you're probably, like me, a little curious about the bigger picture stuff, but also how's it really working on us, the users?
Right. And it really is pretty amazing the reach that social media has on, well, everything.
Yeah.
It's changed how we get our news, how businesses try to, reach us. Heck, even how political movements kind of catch fire.
Yeah, it's kind of like those old sci-fi movies, right? Where they had instant video chat across the galaxy. We're practically there. But instead of debating, like, the meaning of life with aliens, we're arguing with some stranger about, I don't know, whatever today's news is. And it's happening, like, the second.
It's true. And your sources definitely point to that speed, that instant spread of information is a major factor. Take the Arab Spring, for example. Social media was huge in that whole thing, fueling activism and political change. But then flip side, that same power can be used to spread misinformation. And it's out there before anyone can blink.
Oh yeah, for sure. That whole fake news thing really showed us how quickly things can go sideways online. But hey, it's not all bad news, right? Social media can do a lot of good too. Remember the Ice Bucket Challenge? Talk about something that went viral for a good cause.
Absolutely. And we can't forget how the business world has had to adapt. I mean, think about it. We've gone from traditional advertising to this whole world of influencers and going viral. It's wild.
I know. Sometimes I really do stop and think, wait, how did anything get done before we could share everything online? But that kind of leads me to something, well, maybe not as fun to think about. We all know these platforms are designed to, to keep us hooked, right? That's not even really a secret anymore.
You're right. It's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to this attention economy idea. The longer they keep you scrolling, the more data they get, the more targeted those ads become. It's a business model that, well, let's be honest, thrives on us being a little addicted.
Okay, so that makes sense, I guess, from a business point of view. But how are they actually doing that? What are the tricks that make us spend hours on our phones? What is it about that little screen that's so hard to resist?
Well, it's all about how our brains are wired, right?
Yeah.
It's tapping into those reward centers.
Yeah.
And the key here is dopamine. You get a notification or a like, and boom, your brain gets a little hit of that feel-good stuff, and suddenly you're reaching for your phone without even thinking about it.
Oh, that gotta check my phone feeling.
Yeah.
I know that feeling. So it's dopamine pulling the strings. But I have a feeling it's even more complicated than that, right? There's a whole science behind how these platforms get us hooked.
Oh yeah, way more complicated. It's like a whole playbook of psychological tactics they use. And one of the biggest ones is this idea of variable rewards.
Variable rewards, okay. You're gonna have to explain that one. What is that?
So think about a slot machine, right? You pull the lever and you never know, are you going to hit the jackpot or get nothing at all? It's that uncertainty that, ooh, what if I win big? That makes you want to keep playing.
Okay, I see where you're going with this, but we're not exactly winning money when we check our phones, are we? Or are we?
Well, maybe not actual cash, but those likes, those comments, the shares, that's the jackpot, right? Our brains, they get that same little reward signal. Every time you refresh your feed, it's like pulling that lever. Maybe this post will go viral, maybe we'll get tons of comments, or maybe crickets. It's that unpredictability, that hope for a little social validation that keeps us hooked.
That is such a good analogy, though. It's we're hardwired to crave that little dopamine rush from a popular post. And the people who design these platforms, they have to know that, right?
Oh, they know exactly what they're doing. Your sources talk about how they design these things to play on our brain's natural tendencies. And one of the biggies is this thing called loss aversion. Basically, we're wired to hate losing way more than we like winning.
Yeah, that's true. I'm way more ticked off about losing $5 than I am excited about finding $5.
Yeah.
So how does that work with social media?
Think about those recapture notifications, the ones that pop up and say you're missing something. That's them playing on that fear of missing out. Even if we weren't even thinking about the app, that little notification makes you think, wait, what am I missing? What if it's something important? And bam, there's that dopamine hit again, pulling you right back in.
Ugh, it really is this vicious cycle, so easy to get sucked in. But it's not just the notifications, right? It's all these little design things, stuff we don't even realize that keep us hooked.
Exactly. Like infinite scroll, for example. Seems harmless, right? Just keeps the content coming.
Right.
But that's the point. No natural stopping point. You just keep scrolling and scrolling. Next thing you know, you've lost an hour.
Oh, tell me about it. It's scary how easily that happens. And speaking of losing track of time, can we talk about autoplay? I swear that feature is responsible for half my screen time, easily.
Autoplay, oh yeah, that is a perfect example of how they prioritize engagement over everything else. See, by automatically playing the next video, it takes away your chance to disengage. You don't even have to think about clicking. And on top of that, they've gotten so good at engineering these tiny little moments of delight that keep you coming back.
Moments of delight, what, like those little sound effects, the animations, all that.
Yep, all of it. It seems small, but those details, they're designed to give you that little hit of happy brain chemicals. It's all about creating that addictive loop, keeping you engaged for as long as possible.
Okay, this is starting to feel a little matrixy, you know, like I knew social media was designed to be addictive, but the level of like strategy that goes into it, it's kind of wild. So the big question is, what do we do about it? How do we fight back against algorithms that practically read our minds?
Well, the good news is you're already doing it. Awareness is the first step, and you're here. Right, just by understanding these tactics, you're way ahead of the game.
Knowledge is power, I guess, but just knowing isn't enough, right? So what can we actually do? Give us the goods. Okay, so let's get down to it. How do we actually escape these, like, addictive loops? It feels like we're going up against some seriously powerful programming here.
You're not wrong. These platforms are designed to keep you coming back. But you, the user, you've got more power than you might realize. A lot of your sources actually suggest some pretty simple things you can do to take back some control, set some boundaries.
Boundaries, I like the sound of that. What do you mean?
Well, it starts with those notifications. Remember we were talking about those red badges? Practically designed to hijack our attention. Well, make them disappear. Turn off the notifications you don't really need, especially for the apps you just can't seem to put down.
Music to my ears. No more phantom buzzes or that feeling like I have to check my phone every 5 seconds.
Okay, so no more notifications. What else can we do?
Remember how we talked about autoplay, the enemy of like actually choosing what you want to do? Yeah, it's time to disable that thing and take back your control. Disabling autoplay means you have to actually decide, do I want to watch this next video?
It's kind of like instead of just standing on that moving walkway at the airport, you're like, nope, I'm going to walk.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So it's about being more mindful, right?
Exactly. Being intentional with your time, your attention. Another thing your sources talked about is this idea of like adding friction.
Friction? Are we talking like putting my phone at the bottom of my sock drawer? Well, not quite that extreme. But the idea is to make it just a little bit harder to get to those tempting apps. Move them off your home screen. Bury them in a folder, maybe even delete the app altogether and just use the browser version. You're just putting a little space between that initial impulse and actually doing it.
So instead of like automatically tapping on Instagram every time I unlock my phone, I actually have to like go find it. I can see how that would make a difference. It's like those tempting snacks, you put them up on the top shelf, out of sight, out of mind. Or, you know, out of sight, out of phone.
There you go. Little changes, but they can make a big difference in how you use these platforms. And it's not about giving up social media completely, right? It's about figuring out what works for you, finding a balance so you can actually enjoy it without getting sucked in.
This has been seriously eye-opening. I think we all knew somewhere in the back of our minds that these apps are designed to be a little addictive. But to actually like break it down, that's a game changer.
For sure. The more you know about how these strategies work, the more you can make conscious choices about how you use them.
So, to everyone listening, next time you pick up your phone and feel that pull of the infinite scroll, remember what we talked about today. Take a second, think about what those apps are doing, and ask yourself, am I choosing this or am I being played? Until next time, everybody, happy scrolling. But scroll mindfully.
Thanks for tuning in to the White Donkey's CommentCast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to let us know what topics you want to hear next. See you in the next episode.